It's crafting compelling brand narratives amid massive shifts in the consumer landscape. This session is going to be moderated by Boria Majumdar, who's a journalist, acclaimed author and founder of Rev Sports. Give it up for Mr. Boria Majumdar, please, ladies and gentlemen. Or Sources Ali, please. I think it deserves every bit of its Or Sources Ali, please. Thank you. And he'll be joined on stage by Professor Dr. Mahul Brahma, Dean and Professor at NSHM Media and Design School, Kolkata, and Visiting Research Fellow, Bath Business School, UK. Give it up for him, please, ladies and gentlemen, for the special fireside chat. A very interesting topic. The first one, post let's show some energy in the house, Kolkata. Lalit Great Eastern it is. Let's make it fun. Over to you.
Good afternoon. You know, the most difficult thing about a session after lunch is people are not interested at all. And I know it. I've done 1 million plus one of these things. The worst session that you can possibly give somebody is, come and do it at 2 o'clock, because the lunch will continue till 2:30. The organizers will come and say, can we hold it for 15 minutes because the moderator is not there. Can you step in? So we are all aware of that. Now I can see some smiles because what I'm starting to say is, he's telling me the truth. This is also a brand narrative. I'm trying to create one. Good afternoon. Mahul is a fantastic speaker. So let's try and get some real interesting, compelling questions out. And I want to make this interactive because this was supposed to be a 4-member panel. It has now been reduced to 2. So while we can keep going on monologues, and believe me, as both academics, we can keep going on for 3 hours. The point is not for you to fiddle with your mobile phones. If you start doing that, I know, and he does, that we've lost you. So the moment that happens, I'm going to open this up for questions, and clearly it will be evident to us if you've heard us or not, because the question will be related to what we're talking about. So for the next half an hour, bear with us. Mahul, brand narrative, consumer behavior. Simple 4 words that will define this whole half an hour, right? Your new book, Bharat, and you've done fantastic work on luxury and luxury brands. Now, luxury as the word, till some years back, was considered the domain of the elite. That okay, you will have a certain class, section of society, income group, economic viability, etc. And only then can you aspire. Now, the middle class aspires to luxury. For example, the phone. An iPhone, which was considered a luxury brand, even everybody, even somebody who earns 40,000 to 50,000 rupees a month will want to buy it. So how has this landscape changed? And is the luxury brand or the luxury segment at all relevant, or things have become much more porous?
Boria starts with a bouncer, so thank you. It's an honor to be sharing stage with a personality like Boria, a long time friend of mine. Thank you, Anjali, for this session, and thank you, dear audience, for being here. So, as far as the middle class is concerned, I've also written about it numerous times. It is the middle class which drives the luxury brands. So there's a category called masstige, which is mass plus prestige, where you go to a Louis Vuitton store, you'll see small purses, chains, sunglasses, and those are the ones which sell the most, which keep the coffers running than the big ticket items. Historically, that has been the case, and that is still the case now, with the middle class going stronger and stronger with a higher purchasing value. So it is the middle class that is actually running the show for all the big brands, including, Balenciaga or LV or Cartier. It is those scarves, those purses, those keychains, those sunglasses that actually make the money. It's the masses that run luxury.
But has it changed over time? Have you seen any kind of change in consumer behavior, or is it still a continuous pattern?
It still continues very strong. There is no change. There is no change at all.
So this will escalate with the middle class becoming more and more powerful in the country with more spending power.
Absolutely. So there have been certain changes in terms of the demographics of the consumer class. So if you see today, the Gen Z or now the Gen Alpha, who are the post-2010 born, primarily the Gen Z who are basically pushing not only the middle class consumption but also the elite consumption, wherein there are certain aspects which have become very important to them. So when it was the millennials or even the baby boomers, the things that used to matter and the things which matter to the Gen Z have changed a lot. First of all, when you buy a luxury good, which is say 3 lakh, 4 lakh, you go there, you are served with a fantastic coffee or a glass of champagne, somebody is engaging with you, telling you stories and of the craftsmanship, of the history of the brand, and then you engage and you buy. It's an experiential thing. But with the Gen Z and definitely with the Gen Alpha, and they are people with money now, okay, and that has changed. So they are very comfortable buying, Louis Vuitton on their mobile, Cartier watches in their mobile, 7-8 lakhs, doesn't matter. So the perspective of the luxury brands also need to change and inculcate technology, AI as an integral part of their storytelling. Because they have to engage, grab the attention of these people, which is of primary importance. And that is the focus, that has to be the focus. Another aspect with the Gen Z is the purpose. Earlier, these luxury brands never used to bother about purposes. The Maharajas used to boast about things made of the tiger skin and all that. But today, the Gen Z is very, very concerned whether you are fighting climate change, whether you are have taken purpose as an integral part of your brand story rather than a tokenism for sale. Whether diversity is there, whether you are conscious about the climate, whether you are not using leather and using substitutes, whether your sourcing is pure. So brands have suddenly woken up and they are all trying to engage towards this pro-green and pro-sustainable environment and showcasing that to their consumers, which was never the case. This is also crocodile leather. So people of my generation, they like things which are not sustainable to some extent.
What Rahul spoke about, at the start of the question, was a bit of continuity. Now let me give our example. My co-founder of our company, RevSport, Shomishta, is also here. So let me give you that example. We run a media company. We run a media company which is a digital-first media company, RevSports. I'm sure a lot of you follow us, a lot of you have watched our content. Now, when we started RevSports in 2021 December, and by the way, I had a very decent career in sports media, though people don't still associate me with academia, that is still the primary love. But sports media, I've done Times of India, I've done Economic Times, I still write every Sunday. I've done India Today for a long time. So, it was something that was getting, as far as I'm concerned, from the brand narrative, consumer behavior perspective, getting boring. There's no challenge. I was leading the journalistic scale. Most of the exclusives are mine. Okay, you do this, you do this. Then what more? Because when I also see discrimination. So let me combine this in the next couple of minutes with your question. So what I was seeing in the sports media landscape is this. A sports journalist goes and does a story. He is covering an event, take the Olympics. Neeraj Chopra has won gold. The sports journalist is there to document that story. And the 9 PM editor will call and say, oh, he has won gold, get it from my show, you don't need to bother. And that's a common practice. The consumer will want that interview ASAP. That's consumer. The brand wants that interview, but wants it for the prime time show. For the largest, sport is not part of the ecosystem of news. It is still a silo. That's why there will be a sports bulletin at 7:30, a sports bulletin at 8 o'clock, but a news bulletin at 9. The problem is, next morning when you read your paper, Neeraj Chopra wins gold is your 8-column banner headline in every paper. So it's mainstream news. So why are you putting in a sports news? Why are you putting the sports journalist in one bracket and saying, oh, you know what? You don't belong to mainstream. Mainstream is something different. And I have seen this discrimination for far too long. And that was a continuous fight. That's why we decided to launch Rev Sports. Point number 2. Now tell me something. A ridiculously boring World Cup is going on at the moment in the United States. Half the matches are not attended, and India-Pakistan is the only match that is a sellout. And by the way, even my daughter can sell an India-Pakistan match. ICC doesn't need to. My daughter is 10 years old. So you are not even able to sell an India-Ireland game. So not all India matches are sold out. Yet, 50 Indian journalists are there. 50. United States and Caribbean, most expensive. How many of these journalists will be there for the Paralympics? Today, Chandu Champion is getting released. How many of you have heard of Murlikant Petkar? Put your hands up. How many of you have heard of Murlikant Petkar? 1. 2. Murlikant 3. Murlikant Petkar, 1965 war hero, 9 bullet wounds, 1972 goes on to win a Paralympic gold for India. This is one of the most educated audiences that you will get. 3 out of 150 people have heard of Murlikant Petkar. How many of you have heard of Virat Kohli? 150 hands will go up. How is this brand narrative created? Tell me. Who is at the root of this brand narrative? We the media. We the media have created this narrative whereby a T20 World Cup with 10, 20 teams, out of which 10 are rubbish like Uganda, etc., becomes way more important than a 200-country Paralympic Games, which has at its root sensitivity, equality, and several other key themes. Who is responsible? How does consumer behavior change? Unless we are at the root of this change and push that change. And we are actually fighting, Rahul, against a tremendously impactful social media where we are all trying, and I've gone through a social media trial.
That is exactly the question that I would like to ask you. You know, this trial by social media and this wonderful book, which is a bestseller by Boria called Anne, it feels so proud to see somebody fighting the fight and winning it. So, if you can just tell us a little bit about this fight and the book.
This is not about the book today, so I'll connect it with our theme. So 2 years back, I was labeled, 2.5 years now, labeled public enemy number 1 based on a series of lies peddled by a national cricketer. There are 2 things here. Consumer behavior says that a national cricketer playing for the Indian team can't speak lies. Whatever he's saying is gospel. It's a given. An Indian cricketer means he's God, he sits on a pedestal. That is an absolute joker and speaks a bunch of lies. He's not going to be heard. However much you try and say that, he is peddling a series of lies. Not one, but many. You can't say, because if you do, your parentage will be questioned. Mine was, my wife was called a prostitute, my dead father was called a bastard, my mother was called a prostitute, etc., days on end on social media. Consumer behavior, because cricket or national cricket is a brand narrative. However much you try and upset that apple cart of that brand narrative by saying that, look, this is the truth, you can't. Because in India, we have put them on this pedestal and have started worshipping them, and nobody, whoever you are, however much you are speaking the truth, can change that. The thing was, should this book happen or not happen? Will there be another set of trolls after my 2-year ban was over? Should we try and do it or not do it? Should we challenge this established paradigm and change consumer behavior or not change consumer behavior? That was the key challenge. And you know what? Change is the only dynamic, change is the only constant in human life. It is dynamic. We did the book, and as Mahmood said, today it's an overwhelming success. So what I want to say here is, brand narratives and consumer behavior can be changed provided your content is honest, your content is truthful, and your content has metal. This audience is listening to us today because what we are saying here is making sense to them. If the 2 of us were talking nonsense, none of you would.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a follow-up. You know, when you teach at universities like Bath, and by the way, you've chosen Bath very good because it's one of the best places to go and have a summer holiday, especially with weather like Kolkata. But writing a story like the Indian story of luxury, and we all say that, India is a sleeping giant, we are waking up, the world is looking at India, soft power. How do you see the Indian consumer class being treated globally? Are we now being taken seriously? Our tastes, is it distinctive? Will the world cater to the Indian market and prepare its products based on that? How are you seeing that?
See, as far as the luxury story is concerned, India in 1920 was the biggest consumer of Rolls Royce globally, 25%. And Louis Vuitton, both. So the kings used to have Louis Vuitton for their golf, their pen, their spices, their everything. So 32, 35 customized cases will be prepared with which they can travel. So there's a long history with branded luxury as far as the India is concerned. So India has always been a very, very important market since the inception of the Cartiers of the world. And you know the story of the Maharaja of Patiala who did the Cartier necklace. So imagine a 235 carat centerpiece with 2000 DBS diamonds, everything branded. And of course the story of the Maharaja that converted the Rolls Royce into a garbage collector. Took 6 of the Rolls Royces and converted them to a garbage collector, gifted to the municipality, just because he was not treated well in the London boutique. So India has always been a consumer and a very important consumer. But with the rise of the middle class, which has happened in the past maybe 60, 70 years, we have seen that now the luxury brands are taking note of India because of not only the big ticket purchases, which were the other earlier cases, they are now taking note for the mass, the volume, the sheer volume of buying. So they're customizing their products. Say Lado is doing a Ganesha or a Lakshmi in porcelain, which was never thought of earlier. LV is customizing, Bulgari is customizing for India, for Diwali, for Dhanteras. It was unimaginable. But so they are looking at Bharat from a very, very different perspective.
Let me tell you a story here. And I love this part, the customization part. So when I think of a Neeraj Chopra, and one of our greatest athletes of all time, according to me the greatest Indian athlete ever. Now Neeraj today endorses an Omega. Neeraj endorses, I think, a BMW, one of those luxury car brands. And Neeraj endorses every possible brand like this. Neeraj Chopra. After winning the Tokyo Gold, we were in the Olympic press conference, and a couple of BBC journalists asked him a question. Neeraj just looked at me and said, "Aapko to samajh aa gaya hoga, translate kariye to." And it was that incredible moment when India was speaking out in the world that English is the single biggest instrument of class oppression. I don't need to speak English to be a hero. I am the greatest javelin thrower in the world. You respect that. I don't need to cater to your standards. I'll give you another Neeraj Chopra story. Neeraj Chopra in a conclave. So he was wearing a Balmain t-shirt and I was wearing a jacket. And he comes to me and says, "Sir, Dubai Mall. I said, "Yeah." He said, "80% discount." He said, "Neeraj, you are the Olympic champion." He said, "Yeah, but why is it coming up?" So the humility of the man, whatever luxury brand he can endorse, will always be there and will be the defining marker that he's talking about.
Absolutely.
That you have to now come to us and cater to our consumer behavior, our needs,
our customs, our tradition, absolutely, our culture. And that is the way forward for them, and they're very, very sure. There is no doubt in the mind. Earlier, there was a common Asia strategy. And now they have a separate India strategy. There's the Bharat strategy. So that's the beauty of it. That's how the landscape, the narrative, what we are talking about is changing. And that is a fact and something that they're taking the strategies for.
Let me take you to social media because you asked me that question. How relevant is it? Because at one level, all of us take social media seriously. A lot of people told me, why did you not sort of switch off? Because I run a digital media company, so I can't. According to you, does brand narrative depend that much on social media because it impacts consumer behavior?
See, it does. Because people today, the span of attention is so low that to see earlier when we were journalists at some point, we used to go to the bottom of the story and not take the story at face value. Ask an industry expert, ask the other person, whether this person, what he is claiming to be, is correct or not. You don't find it. It's taken. So if journalism has become that lazy, and I feel so bad because I am head of a media school, I'm training journalists. If journalism has become so lazy, audience naturally are completely taken away with a wrong headline, a wrong claim. They don't bother checking it, even googling it.
Let me on this note tell you, ladies and gentlemen, something very important. If your country has to ever become a multi-sporting country, and all of us crave for that, right? Because after every Olympic Games, we all shout from the rooftop, 130 crore people won medal, 2 medals, 3 medals, 5 medals. This is the biggest mistake you make. You know why? Because we feed you this headline, like he said,
Right.
because it's a great social media headline to impact consumer behavior. 130 crore Indians and 2 medals. Out of the 130 crore Indians that you're talking about, 129.5 crore Indians don't even have the basic facilities of sport. So the people who are having the basic facilities of sport is far less than a small European country. So it is not the right headline at all to tell your people that, oh, you know what, we will need to win X number of medals at the Olympic Games. Can never happen. It is our job to put the real story out. Second, and I will tell you one story of a girl from Odisha, what India is all about. And that is what defines why should we not celebrate this girl. My last story, because our time is up and we'll open it up to questions for about 10 minutes or so.
Sure.
I'll take one more with it and open it up. So there's a girl called Rupi Machi. And she is a girl from Odisha, from a village in Keonjhar. Rupi plays rugby for India and is the captain of the Indian women's rugby team. Till 10 months back, if somebody came and told me Indian women play rugby, and that to the Asian Games, and I said, what are you talking about? India did play at the Asian Games. Rupi played rugby from a pretty young age. One time, a photograph of hers in shorts was published in the local newspaper. Her father from the village got hold of that newspaper and was told that your daughter plays rugby, so she can never get married. Her father got hold of her, literally thrashed her, and said, how dare you, because of you, your siblings won't get married. So you're actually a disgrace. This is the narrative, huh? This is the consumer narrative in that part of the world. Rupi said, fair enough. She thought that if I go to study in the Kalika Institute of Sports Sciences in Bhubaneswar, nobody would know that I'm here, so my parents would never leave the village, so I can continue practicing rugby. She did. What she did not know is when she got selected to play for India, a profile was published in a leading newspaper, and her father got to know again. And this time around, he locked her up in her house and said, from today, no rugby, and beat her up badly. Just that day, the government of Odisha announced a 10 lakh rupee award for anybody who played for the Indian team from that state. Rupi went up to her father and said, listen, I will not play rugby from tomorrow. I will give up on all sport. But there is a 10 lakh rupee reward that has been given to me. Kindly take it. And believe me, Mahul, her father was shocked. Her father was literally shocked and said, in 4 generations, our family has not earned half of the 10 lakhs. And you're talking about 10 lakh rupees. Are you serious? And next day the money hit her account. And once it did, her father literally caught hold of Rupi and paraded her round the village and said, from today, every girl in this village will play rugby. There are 4 girls from that village who are part of the Indian team. Consumer behavior, how it changes, how we as brands, as a media brand, can change this. One story gets a clap. Now imagine if 200 different media outlets push this story for all of us to millions of people. Will you follow the Olympic Games? Will you follow the Paralympic Games? Will there be a revolution in this country? Will we look beyond cricket? Will we become a multi-sporting country? Let's open it up for questions.
Absolutely.
Anyone? Both of us? Yeah, I mean, just fire away. This is a freewheeling conversation. Anybody who has a question on luxury, on brand, on sport, on consumer behavior, feel free to ask. We've got 10 minutes. Yes.
There's a question.
Yes, sir.
Can somebody
Microphone ले लो।
Mic, please, sir. Just one video. Come on.
আমি বাংলাতেই বলছি,
হ্যাঁ, বলুন।
যেহেতু মঞ্চটা একটা সমন্বয়ের জায়গা, মানে কোঅর্ডিনেট করছেন আর কি আপনারা, মিডিয়া এম শব্দের মধ্যে দেখুন কতটা ব্যাপকতা রয়েছে। মিডিয়া যে সিএমও, চিফ মার্কেটিং অফিসার্স, মার্কেটিং আসছে, এখানে মিডিয়া আসছে। তো আমি বিশেষত বড়িয়াবাবুকে বলবো যে আমার নাম দীপেন্দু চৌধুরী, আমি ছোটোখাটো একজন এখন ফ্রিল্যান্সার আর কি দীর্ঘদিন ধরে। তো আপনার কি মনে হচ্ছে যে যেহেতু দুটো পার্ট রয়েছে, প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া আমরা দেখছি মুদ্রণ মাধ্যম এটা চ্যালেঞ্জের মধ্যে এসে পড়েছে, সামাজিক মাধ্যমের যে গতিশীলতা কি পিডিএফ ফরম্যাট, তো প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া কি ডিউ টু মার্কেটিং আগামী দিনে আরো সমস্যার মধ্যে পড়বে? আপনার কি মনে হয়?
10 বছর আগে যখন আপনি এই প্রশ্নটা করেছিলেন, একই প্রশ্ন করেছিলেন যে প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া কি অবলুপ্ত হয়ে যাবে, প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া কি থাকবে, ডিজিটাল কি এসে কনজিউম করে শেষ করে দেবে। আজও আপনি একই প্রশ্ন বলছেন, তার মানে কি প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া অবলুপ্ত হয়ে যায়? একটা জিনিস মাথায় রাখবেন দীপেন্দুবাবু, একটা জিনিস ইজ কনস্ট্যান্ট, এন্ড দ্যাট ইজ কোয়ালিটি। আপনি আমায় কোয়ালিটি কন্টেন্ট দিন, ইফ আই গিভ ইউ কোয়ালিটি কন্টেন্ট, ইফ হি রাইটস এ বুক দ্যাট ইজ কোয়ালিটি, নোবডি এভার can take your place. Trust me, আজকে যেরকম ক্লাসিক্যাল মিউজিক আছে, বলিউড গান আছে, বাংলা গান আছে, ক্লাসিক্যাল আর্ট সিনেমা আছে, সব রকম আছে। ক্রিকেটে 3 রকম, টি20 টেস্ট ম্যাচ ক্রিকেট এবং 50 ওভার রয়েছে। আপনার জায়গা থাকবে, টেস্ট ম্যাচের ক্লায়েন্টেল থাকবে, কনজিউমার থাকবে। দেশ এবং পৃথিবী প্রচুর বড়, আপনার নিশটা আপনাকে খুঁজে নিতে হবে। তাই আপনি যদি এই নেগেটিভ মননে চলে যান, ও আমি প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া তাই জন্য আমি ডিজিটালের সাথে পেরে উঠবো না, তাহলে হবে না। আপনাকে মনে করতে হবে ও ডিজিটাল করছে, তাহলে আমি প্রিন্টে এক্সট্রা কি করতে পারি। একটা জিনিস মাথায় রাখবেন, কালকে সকালে উঠে ওই হার্ড কাগজটা অ্যাড করতে পারি, ওটা এখনো আমাদের মধ্যে অনেকে পড়ে না। আপনি বলুন, হাউ মেনি অফ ইউ রিড এ নিউজ পেপার? প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া অবলুপ্ত হবে না? উত্তর পেয়ে গেছে।
না, আমি আরেকটা প্রশ্ন কিন্তু রাখতে চাইছি এক মিনিট, সেটা হচ্ছে
আমি আপনার আগের প্রশ্নটাতে একটু অ্যাড করতে চাই। আমি প্রিন্ট মিডিয়াকে সামলাতাম, সিনিয়র এডিটর উইথ নিউ ইয়র্ক টাইমস, সো এই যে প্রশ্নটা বলি, আমি খুব ঠিক বলবো যে এইটা আগামী 10 বছর বাদেও কেউ করবে। তো এইটা একটা ডিজিটাল আসার পরে এইটা একটা কন্টিনিউয়াস পথ, যে প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া থাকবে কি থাকবে না। কিন্তু একটা জিনিস জেনে রাখবেন, এই যে ছাপা অক্ষরের যে ভ্যালু, যে আমি দিয়েই চেঞ্জ করে ফেলতে পারলাম না, এবং এটা থেকে যাবে। আমাকে হয়তো কালকে একটা অরিজিনালটা ইস্যু করতে হতে পারে, কিন্তু যেটা ছেপে গেছে, সেটা আমার বই হোক আর খবরের কাগজেই হোক, এটার যে অনেস্টি, এটার যে একুইটি, এটার যে ইন্টিগ্রিটি, এটা ডিজিটাল কোনো দিন রিপ্লেস করতে পারবে না।
আমি কন্টেন্টের জায়গা থেকে আসছি না আর কি, আমি আরেকটা প্রশ্ন বলছি এটাতে রিলেটেড। যেহেতু আমিও প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া থেকে এসেছি, হ্যাঁ, 84 থেকে সেই অর্থে, তো আপনারা একটু খোঁজ নিয়ে দেখবেন, আপনারা গবেষক মানুষ, হকারদের ক্ষেত্রে যে সমস্যাটা এসছে, আগে যেভাবে হকারদের কাছ থেকে পত্রিকাটা পাওয়া যেত, হকাররা কিন্তু এখন সেইভাবে পাওয়া যাচ্ছে না, হকার অ্যাভেলেবল নয়। আমি সংবাদপত্রের লোকজনদেরকে জিজ্ঞেস করেও দেখেছি আর কি, যেহেতু আমি 3টে মিডিয়াতেই ছিলাম বা আছি, সেই অর্থে প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া দিয়ে শুরু করে ইলেকট্রনিক মিডিয়া এবং সোশ্যাল মিডিয়া, তো সেক্ষেত্রে দেখা যাচ্ছে যে সত্যি করেই হকাররা সকালের দিকে ওই 2 ঘন্টা কাগজটা দিয়ে তারপরে তারা অন্য কাজে চলে যাচ্ছে এবং অন্য কাজে অনেক বেশি তারা অর্থ পাচ্ছে, আয় করছে। এইটা প্রিন্ট মিডিয়ার মধ্যে প্রিন্ট মিডিয়ার মধ্যে কিন্তু একটা বড় সমস্যা। আমি মার্কেটিং শব্দটা ওই জন্যই এম বলে ব্যবহার করেছিলাম, সর্বক্ষেত্রেই মার্কেটিং আর কি। যদিও বিজ্ঞাপনটা প্রথম সারির কাগজগুলোতে আমরা দেখতে পাচ্ছি বেড়েছে তুলনায়, আবার নিউজের কন্টেন্টটাও অনেক অনেক ভালো হচ্ছে আগের তুলনায়, এবং হয়তো আরো ভালো, কারণ ফলো স্টোরিটাই বেশি করতে হবে আলটিমেটলি প্রিন্ট মিডিয়াকে, সেই অর্থে আর কি।
Let's answer that. তুমি আগে বলো, আমি বলছি।
দেখুন, সবকিছুই একটা লজিস্টিক্স। আপনি কাগজে কাজ করেছেন, আপনি জানেন যে এডিশনটা একটা সময়ের পরে যদি বেরোয় তাহলে হকার কাগজ তুলতে পারবে না এবং আমার পাঠকের কাছে কাগজ যাবে না। সো আপনি খুব ঠিক বলেছেন যে এই হকারের কাগজ তোলা এবং কাগজ, এটার একটা নিশ্চয়ই একটা খুব ক্রিটিক্যাল রোল আছে। কারণ আমি যে মাস্টারপিসটা বানাচ্ছি সেটা যদি কালকে আমার রিটার্ন না করতে পারে কোনো লাভ নেই। কিন্তু একটা জিনিস আপনাকে বুঝতে হবে, দিন পাল্টাচ্ছে, সময় পাল্টাচ্ছে এবং মানুষ যেভাবে পাল্টাচ্ছে সেইটাকে মেনে নিতে হবে। যেরকম মিডিয়া কনভার্জেন্স, যেটা বড়িয়াও স্বীকার করে, আপনি বললেন আমি 3টে জায়গাতেই কাজ করি। এখন তো সকালে যে প্রিন্ট মিডিয়াতে কাজ করে, সে সকালে একটা টুইটার করে, তারপরে টিভিতে আসে, তারপরে ডিজিটালের জন্য কপি বানায়, তারপরে খবরের কাগজের জন্য লিখে যেটা পরের দিন ছাপে। এটা তো নিয়ম।
আমি ওকে এটা অ্যাড করি। প্রথম কথা, আমি উত্তর কলকাতায় থাকি, এখনো আমার পাড়ায় এবং মাঝে মাঝে বাজার যাই, এখন সব দিন যেতে পারি না। আমাদের পাড়ায়, আমি বিবেকানন্দ রোড বিধানসভার মোড়ে থাকি, তার আশেপাশে এখনো অন্তত 10টা খবরের কাগজের হকার সকালবেলা কাগজ বিতরণ করে, এবং আমার সেটা রিচুয়াল। ওইখান থেকে কাগজ না আমার বাড়িতে আসলে আমার ঠিক ঘুম কাটবে না। সো এটা আমাদের ট্র্যাডিশন, এবং এটা এখনো কিছু মানুষের ক্ষেত্রে এটা আছে। মানিকতলা বাজারে গিয়ে ফ্রেশ মাছ কিনবো, বাড়ির বউ যতই বকুক না কেন কয়েকদিন কচুরি খাবো, খবরের কাগজটা পড়বো, তবে এটা ইটস পার্ট অফ আওয়ার ডিএনএ, রাইট? এন্ড ইট উইল নট চেঞ্জ। নাম্বার 2, আপনি যখন ক্রিকেট রিপোর্টিং করেন, যখন টেলিভিশন ছিল না, যখন রিয়েল টাইম ছিল না, আপনি কি করতেন? খেলাটা বর্ণনা করতেন, ডিসক্রাইব করতেন একভাবে, বলটা এইভাবে হলো। আজকে আপনি আর সেটা করেন না। আমি যদি আপনাকে বলি বলটা ডান দিকে এতটা ইনসুইং করলো, কি বলছে? কালকে 10টা ক্রিকেট এক্সপার্ট টেলিভিশনে ওটাকে ডিকনস্ট্রাক্ট করে শেষ করে দিয়েছে। নতুন কি হচ্ছে? সো আপনাকে ইভলভ করতে হয়েছে, আমাকে ইভলভ করতে হয়েছে, হকারকে ইভলভ করতে হবে, ওই ইকোনমি অফ দ্য প্রিন্ট মিডিয়া মার্কেটিংটাকে ইভলভ করতে হবে, তবেই থাকতে পারবে। এবং এটা শুধু প্রিন্ট মিডিয়ার ক্ষেত্রে না, এটা সব ক্ষেত্রে প্রযোজ্য। আমরা যখন ডিজিটাল কোম্পানি চালাই, আমরা তো ভাবতে হয় যে আমরা তো বেচতে হবে এটা। মার্কেটে তো 200টা কোম্পানি আছে, আজকে আমার কাছে 15টা ব্র্যান্ড আছে। কেন? কিভাবে আমরা ভাইরাল করে তুলতে পেরেছি? ব্র্যান্ডস লাইক টাটা স্টিল, ব্র্যান্ডস লাইক কোকা কোলা, তারা একটা নতুন কোম্পানিতে অ্যাডভার্টাইজ করছে। কেন? কন্টেন্টের কোয়ালিটির জন্য, পাঠকের কাছে পৌঁছাতে পারছেন বলে। সেইটা আপনার চ্যালেঞ্জ। কোয়ালিটি যদি আপনি দিতে পারেন, মার্কেটের সাথে ঠিক করে ইভলভ করতে পারেন,
ব্র্যান্ড নারেটিভ চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাবে একদম। ভুল ব্র্যান্ড নারেটিভ দিয়ে শুরু হলেও সেটা চেঞ্জ হয়ে যাবে। আর আপনার নাম?
We have been told we can take 2 final questions, so let's take 1 here, 1, 3. Amit, Shormishta, and here, 3 questions. 3. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Boryada. Thanks, Mogulda. A quick question. How do you think brands can leverage sports personalities to push their outreach or market to millennials? Anyway, millennials are the most captive audience for brands in the Indian market. So what more can they do to entice the millennials?
It's a question coming from someone who does it beautifully himself. Amit, as wearing his hat as British Deputy High Commission, head of this vertical, has done this wonderfully well for years, so he doesn't need me to answer this. Having said that, the British Deputy High Commissioner himself, Andrew, has become a brand now, because he goes and watches an IWL game, an Indian Women's League game, and has become an advocate for women's football. And he goes and watches the East Bengal club, goes and watches every possible football match. So this is an age-old thing. You know why? Because a sports star brings with it a certain degree of credibility. Because what is sport? Let's decode this. What is sport? It's about fair play, it's about ethics, it's about morality, it's about integrity and certain values. So when you associate that, Tendulkar, why is Tendulkar good for a mutual fund thing? Because always we felt Tendulkar is a safe investment. With Tendulkar batting, I feel safe.
Yes.
So as a brand, as a bank, or as a mutual fund, I will go and want to invest in a Dhoni or a Tendulkar. That's how brands create these narratives. A Ranveer Singh has this maverick personality. Give him a Pepsi, you know, the new Pepsi ad, this whole maverick persona. That's what brands use. And a sports star or a film star, because he or she is always in the public glare, in the public limelight, will create debate, will help narrative, will allow you to fashion a story around that person, will always lend itself to great storytelling by people like us.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Yes, and then we'll close with Shobhishta.
I'm Professor Shobhasachi from Globsin. I have this whole question, something which all of you are talking about identity. There is something called a brand identity, there is something called an individual identity. And we have all seen that one ambassador goes for multiple brands, and that's where this whole debate comes in. That, does it just do justice to the brand, to the consumers, all of these things. So, sir, I would like to know your viewpoints on the same.
Fantastic question. The moment. See, you are also aware that if Shah Rukh Khan does an ad for Santro, he doesn't drive that car. Amitabh Bachchan, most probably, because of the hair, he doesn't use a Navratna tail. And by you, I mean everybody. We all know, the people, the stars who are doing an advertisement for Gutka may not be consuming it themselves. But the point is that why do you think still stars are paid in crores to be brand ambassadors? And this is across all walks of life. Because they sell. Because that aspiration of somebody who's watching the ad or watching the billboard that Akshay Kumar uses a certain brand of TMT bar feels connected. You may not. But there is an allegiance, there is an aspiration, and that still works. And as long aspiration works, that this guy, who's an icon, but he is showcasing the brand that I can afford. And that's what clicks. And it clicks across all walks of life.
I'm going to add to So, it's a very good question. And I actually asked this of Shorab the other day at Goa Fest. So I said, from my house to Girish Park, there are 271 hoardings, 171 have your face. How is this possible? And why should I identify you're wearing a t-shirt is you, a watch is you, or whatever is you, everything is you. And he said, what about the rest of the 100? Those also should be me. That's a different matter. But the problem is, we don't have stars. The moment Bengal has more sellable stars, you will have more. The moment Bengal doesn't have a player or a performer or anyone who can even compete with Ganguly. It's Mamata Banerjee at number 1 maybe as brand, and then Shorab, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 10 is Shorab and Mamata.
Absolutely.
Who's number 11? Nobody cares. That is the poverty of Bengal is there that we don't have a star. If we did, you mean to think all these brands would go to Shorab and today you would have 45 brands despite having been retired 15 years earlier? No. So it's our problem. The moment we create new stars, brand will go towards these new stars.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Yes.
Mike.
Okay, so I had a question for Mahul. You mentioned the aspirations of the middle class and how that's changed the brand narrative and how now big companies are catering to that. But, I find it a little surprising that people don't actually talk about working class aspirations. The working class has become immensely aspirational. And I'll just give you a small story. I was locked in my apartment screaming from the balcony. And so who should come and rescue me? The cleaner of the complex. So the boy very bravely jumped in through the window, broke a window and came and rescued me. And in the process, his phone, which was in his pocket, the screen got crushed. And I should know how aspirational that is, the working classes, because I had to replace the phone, and it was an iPhone which I had to replace the screen of. So he will take nothing less than an iPhone. You go to gift your domestic not, you have to give a proper Android phone. So the working class is very aspirational. We recently had a tie-up with a mobile phone brand, which I'm not naming, and the phones which were given to us as part of the promotion, they are in the range of 7,000-8,000. So I'm estimating that brands do target the working class a lot, and while we don't talk about them as much, they are very much part of that growth and aspiration trajectory. Any comments?
Yeah. See, it is because of the digital penetration. So if you see, it has become a basic need of anybody to have a smartphone where you can watch Instagram Reels or at one point of time TikTok. So that video watching and continuously consuming content has become a necessity. It is no longer a luxury. So phone when they see that I need a better phone because my streaming needs to be good. So just like housing, just like food, an expensive phone. Recently, I'm not talking about iPhone to the certain extent, but a necessary decent 50,000-20,000 phone is a bare minimum necessity for everybody, and especially the working class. So that is where the consumption, again, the middle class is the new middle class. If you call the working class the new middle class, they are basically driving the sales. They are basically driving the volume. My chauffeur, there was some pictures he had taken of a game, and I asked him to send it. So he asked me, "Sir, airdrop kore do?" So I said, "Fantastic." I also don't know how to do it, but So that's the beauty of it, and they use it not as something that আমার কাছে দামি ফোন আছে. This is casual. I have this phone. I supposed to have this phone.
It's about a democratization of the whole.
Absolutely. Democratization is the right word.
So that's what has happened, and I actually love it. Because the more that happens, the more consumers for people like us who want to do different stuff and different kind of content, and 40 minutes, 10 minutes over compared to what 30 minutes we were given, he's given us a red flag, but people have still put their hands up. So clearly, the lunch and break was not a problem. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, dear audience.